In the meantime, I'll figure out how this music stand works. There we go. Hey, listen, wait. No, it's not doing it anymore. All right, we got a lot of boysenberries. So it looks like the majority is cinnamon and crumbs and good old fashioned. All right, so real quick, in your groups, get to know each other if you don't know each other, and basically answer, why did you pick this option? Hey, that's fine. I think I would do boysenberry myself. I kind of like the fruity aspect. I probably could have phrased that better, but you know. All right, 10 more seconds. All right, let's go to our next question. Poof! You've been turned into a mythical creature. Are you a unicorn, a uniwhale, aka the narwhal, they aren't wheel, a unibear, or a unichicken? Which are you? Unicorn, uniwhale, unibear, or a unichicken? We have a lot more unichickens than I anticipated. Got the unibears, probably more predatory, like got the claws and you can impale your enemies. I like that. All right, introduce yourselves to people. Why did you pick your option? Ellis is like, hey, I just want to like squawk around. That's ultimately why I'm doing this. Narwhals swimming in the ocean, causing a commotion, because they are so awesome. Ooh, I'm feeling the rumble. I like that. Kind of makes me feel all powerful. Whoa. It's getting louder. All right, next question. You're the king. What law would you pass? Everyone must wear a party hat at all times. When you greet someone, you must cup their chin and say, I greet you. Corn dogs must be eaten at every meal, or unichickens are mandatory pets. Pick your corner. You know the drill, pick your corner. Why did you pick that option? We have one person for corn dogs. You a big corn dog fan? Yeah, I like corn dogs too. Have you had the breakfast ones where they do the sausage with the pancake around it? Give them a try, they're good. I like the chin thing myself. That'd be my option is, hey, I greet you. All right, next question. Mobs of bloodthirsty tacos are looking for revenge. How do you survive? A, you seek shelter underground. B, you arm yourself with a spork and hot sauce. C, pretend to be a piñata and hide. Or D, buy deodorant because everyone knows tacos can smell fear.
I don't know. I'm gonna
Do what? I can't hear you. Oh, there is none.
I found a spring.
Hey, let me see that. Thanks.
Hey, you distracted.
Yeah, I did. All right, we got the battle ready people over here. We got any, tacos smell fear. They know. As a professional taco eater, you have to keep that dominance, otherwise they'll just come at you without a moment's notice. Very cool. All right, next question. The sky is pink and the grass is blue, but what color is water? A, blood red, B, black, C, it's still blue, or D, it's invisible, so it just looks like fish are hovering. We like the idea of the flying fish, the hovering fish. Can you imagine like seeing like the big whales just kind of like, let's see, who are, C, it's still blue. Okay. Black, blood red. We're going for like Old Testament style over here when it comes to water. I like that. All right, next question. Time to choose the name of your firstborn child. Is it Scooter, Jim Bob, Nebuchadnezzar, or Hortense? If you had to do it all over again, Melissa, poor little Emily, who is she now? Just for the record, whichever you pick is what I'm calling her now for the rest of her life. Jim Bob, I love it. That's awesome. All right, next question. All but one of these animals is going extinct. Choose one to live. A is cats. B is rhinoceroses or rhinoceri. Yeah. Unichickens or baby sea otters. Remember, only one gets to live. What kind of cats? It doesn't matter. They all are terrible. No, they're all cats are terrible. I do too, as long as I order them from like Fu Lin's or something like that. All right, so we got the baby sea otters. You keep the unichickens. I like that. Rhinoceroses. And then this whole group over here is just wrong. Okay. Let's do one more question. Just one more question. You're still the king. What is your crown made of? Noodles? Solid 24 karat gold, literally so heavy that it gives you neck problems, but who cares? It's gold. Corn dogs? Or jiggly cranberry sauce molds, like, you know, when you take it out of the can and it keeps its shape. Gross. What is your crown made of? I'll say, where's my corn dog guy? There he is, in his rightful place. No, it can't be. You have to. Yeah, make a crown made of mass. All right, let's see. Corn dogs. I would be that. Yep, I'd be over there. Option B. That's great. Noodles. And then who picked jiggly cranberry? You guys are gross, and that's all I'm gonna leave it there. Cranberry sauce by itself is nasty, but the canned stuff, that's gross. All right, guys, I hope you guys got to know each other just a little bit more intimately.
No.
These questions like these are the foundation of our society. Our founding fathers fought so we can answer these questions. That's what it comes down to. Every time you answered this question, you became just a little bit more American. Except for the group of you who picked cats. That's wrong. That's just, no, hard pass. Hey, you know what it feels like? Now would be a really good time for a bumper video. Let's do that. This is the bumper music, 'cause it's not free. Okay. All right. Thank you. That did something for my voice. I don't know if I can Michael, can you teach the rest of this for me? I think here you go. I'm tired. No? Okay. Hey, this was your chance to rule the middle school ministry. He's still sad about how much he got out during the game. He's like, oh, poor buddy. We can hug it out later. It's all good. All right. So this week, we are starting a brand new series called This or That. So by this point in your middle school careers, you've probably been taught a little bit about different measuring systems. See, in Europe, the standard measuring system is called the metric system. So there, people use things like grams and meters and liters to measure distance, weight, and all kinds of things. But in the United States, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, we measure distance or height with inches, feet, and miles, and use things like teaspoons, tablespoons, and ounces or other measurements. Now, while we have different standards of measuring things, like how much flour we should put in a cake, or how far it would take to get to our best friend's house, there's one standard of measurement that all people use, whether they realize it or not, and that's comparison. You've heard this word before. Comparison is simply when we measure something about ourselves against something about someone else. So we take this about ourselves and we measure it against that about someone else. You think this pair of sneakers you have is awesome until you see that pair the kid in your small group has. Or you think this grade you got in your paper is pretty good until you hear about that grade that your best friend got. Or you think this guy you're dating is pretty cute until you see the guy your best friend is dating, and you go, girl, he's nice. We all have spiritual gifts, that's mine. So comparison then is the way we measure this in our lives against that in someone else's life, and it affects more of our lives than we probably even realize. But here's the thing about comparison. It can lead us to believe things that just aren't true. Things about ourselves and even others. When we compare ourselves to others, we can start to believe their lives are better than ours in some way. Because they have so many followers on Instagram, or they made the game-winning shot, or got to take that girl to the school dance, or have more friends than you can even dream of having. Their lives are pretty much perfect. They have everything they could ever want. Everything we want. And because of that, we assume their lives are absolutely amazing, even though we know that's not true, because nobody's life is actually perfect. The comparison still leaves us feeling like our this will never measure up to their that. And what happens? Ultimately, comparison leads to disappointment. We're disappointed that we don't have what they have. We wonder why they got to have the cool new house or the starting spot on the team or the happy family, and we start to think, why not me? And the more we compare, the more disappointed we are with what's right in front of us. Others of us get frustrated. Simply, we don't think it's fair. Don't we deserve to have the cool stuff or the big friend group or the part in the school play? The fact that someone else has what we want, what we think we deserve, well, it just doesn't feel fair. And that makes us mad. Maybe for you, the feeling comparison brings into your life is hopelessness. Not only do you see something in someone else's life that you want, but you feel like you're never gonna have it. And no matter what you do or how hard you try, you'll never be able to get where they are or have what they have. And that makes you feel hopeless. Or on the other side of that, maybe comparison actually motivates you. Instead of giving up, you decide to try harder, to push faster, to do whatever you can to get where they are. And while motivation and hard work aren't bad things, they can be unhealthy when comparison is the reason behind them. Maybe when you compare yourself to others, you actually feel really good about yourself. You might even think that you're better than someone else, that you're more deserving of what you have than they are anyway. You might look down on others because you feel like your life looks pretty good in comparison. But regardless of how comparison makes you feel about yourself or others, here's the thing that's true. Comparison never really takes you anywhere. Because as soon as you reach the thing you want, and as soon as you go from your this to their that, you end up finding someone or something else to compare yourself to. And it's never enough, and the cycle never ends. And you end up struggling with those same feelings of disappointment and frustration and hopelessness and more over and over and over again. Luckily for us, there's a better way. A way that doesn't leave us stuck in this cycle of comparison, and it can actually be found in the Bible. The passage we're looking at today is from a guy by the name of Paul. Paul wrote the most of the New Testament. He was a guy who, through the course of his life, he was a Jew, the Jew of the Jews, and he actually went and persecuted and killed Christians. And then one day, as he's walking across the road, Jesus shows up, big bright light, says, "Why are you persecuting me?" And so he becomes blind, ends up becoming a Christian. His eyes are restored, and he ends up being one of the most prominent leaders of the church. He knows what he's talking about. He writes most of the New Testament. And he writes the New Testament because part of what he did is he would actually journey from city to city to city, telling others about Jesus. And then he would write letters whenever he couldn't get to people fast enough. He would write them letters. And there was one church in particular that he wrote a letter to, or he went to visit, and he preached about Jesus. And there were a couple people in that church who felt like they were being called out, that he was picking on them. And so what those people do, like most of us do when we start feeling defensive, is he lashed out. These people lashed out against Paul, started talking bad about Paul in this city. And so Paul writes a letter, and in this letter he addresses them. And this is what Paul says. This is in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12. Paul says, "Oh, don't worry. We wouldn't dare say that we are as wonderful as these other men who tell you how important they are. But they are only comparing themselves with each other, using themselves as a standard for measurement. How ignorant. Even though Paul was specifically talking about some of the false teachers who are bragging about their spirituality, the same truth applies to us today. Basically, what Paul is saying is, listen, comparing yourself to others stinks. It's not smart, it's not wise, it's not helpful. So let's just not do it, okay? Let's just leave it alone. I think what Paul wanted us to know was that when we compare ourselves to each other, we're using the wrong measurement. When we hold our real life up to someone else's on social media, when we compare the way our family looks to the way that other people's family looks, when we look at what we have in comparison to what others have, we always end up losing in the end. And that's because we're looking in the wrong place. And I know this is true not only because of the way comparison makes us feel, but because of something else Paul said in the same letter. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 18, Paul says, when people commend or compliment and praise themselves, it doesn't count for much. The important thing is for the Lord to commend them. It's not about how we measure up in comparison to other people. It's not about how our this stands in comparison to their that. As Paul said, that doesn't count for much. But what does count is how God sees us. This is the standard, the place we can look to see how we measure up. See, God does not compare you to others. How do I know this? Because of Jesus. We can look at the way Jesus treated people while he was here on earth as proof of how God sees us today. See, Jesus did not rank the people around him from the best to the worst. He didn't compare one single person to his own perfection. Instead, he turned the whole system upside down, basing the way we see all people on one thing and one thing only, and that's God's love. See, God isn't using the people around you as some sort of measuring stick to determine your own worth and value. God is looking at you through his eyes. He's seeing your life through his love. And that's the place you always want to measure up to. So since God doesn't compare you to others, then what can we do to stop comparing ourselves? There's just one more truth I want to share with you that I think will help. It's some wisdom from a book called Proverbs that will give us an idea of where to start. It says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. See, comparison starts in our own hearts. It starts because something in us feels unhappy with this or our lives when we see it compared to that in someone else's. So if we want to avoid that feeling, we have to stop it where it starts, and that's in our hearts. As this proverb says, we have to guard our own hearts. So here are some ways we can do that. First off, pay attention to how you feel. You know it's true because there's rumbling. That means God ordains this. Pay attention to your feelings. Notice the way your mood or outlook changes when you start to compare yourself to someone else. Do you feel disappointed? Do you feel frustrated or angry? Do you start to feel anxious? See, those feelings are clues that you're heading down the wrong path of comparison. That's a signal that you need to start guarding your heart. The second thing you can do is to find out what's fueling it. What are you looking at or thinking about or doing when you start to feel those things? What's fueling your negative feelings of comparison? Is it a post on social media? Is it a TV show you're watching? Like a circumstance in your life you wish was different? If it's something in your control, take a step away from it. Close the app, turn off the TV, take a break from a friend group for a day or so. Take a step to guard your heart from the things that cause you to compare. And finally, what I would say is to celebrate what you do have. Instead of filling your heart with comparison, fill it with the acknowledgement of the things you do have. The things that you are thankful for, the things you like about yourself and your life. Again, the way God sees you is the best place to start. Make a list of the ways he sees you. Send an encouragement text to someone you appreciate, or write down all the things you're grateful for in your life. When you're tempted to compare, fill that space in your heart with gratitude. Fill it with something that reminds you of the truth that God does not compare you to others. It's a good amount of information. So what? So what? What do you do with this? What did everything that I say have to do with your life? Those are really good questions. You should answer those in your small group. Have fun.
Before my soul is found, I'll be a get sick in the king.